Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides. For the latest updates and information, you can find me on Twitter at Professor Sides. This Major League Baseball episode covers Game 3 of the World Series, Take 2, as we now have new pitchers and a few new things to talk about. As I think there's a couple of changes that are important to discuss for this game now that it's going to be played on Tuesday, November 1st, rather than on Halloween. In case you're new here, check out the banner on the screen right there, that URL, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. We'll kind of highlight the philosophy and some things that are going on around here with regards to moneyline picks. It's very important in a sport like baseball. Otherwise, the goals for this episode are to share key information about this game, give you some things to think on, and explain why certain plays are being made. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with me or against me before investing your hard-earned money. As always, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so what I provide are loves, likes, and leans. That is A, B, and C grades. And again, my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. However, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Just a quick reset in case you're unaware of how the pitchers are slated to go right now. We've got Suarez and McCullers slated for Game 3. We've got Aaron Nola bumped up to Game 4 against Christian Javier for the Astros still, and we're going to keep Justin Verlander at Game 5. Game 5 is a big question mark for the Phillies. Right now, I'm projecting Noah Syndergaard. That's what the speculation is, but I'll talk about why that's a big question mark when we break down Game 3, and then we're back to Game 6 as regularly scheduled with Framber Valdez and Zach Wheeler. The Phillies wanting to give Wheeler an extra day of rest because of the velocity issues that he showed in Game 1, working back from injury at the end part of the season. And I think that'll go better for them if they just give him the extra rest rather than try to bump him up to Game 5, which is what I kind of initially thought that they were going to try to do. So it does make the Phillies have a huge question mark in Game 5, but this does set them up in much better shape for Games 3 and 4 than it did previously. The rain helps them a little bit there. I don't think it actually helps them overall, though. Running the math on it, switching the pitchers around, considering the possibility of Aaron Nola now pitching in relief in Game 7, giving the Phillies a little bit of a boost there behind Suarez, who can now pitch in Game 7. I had 65% for the Astros before, and I have 65% now. Does it actually change anything? It does make the Phillies a little bit better in Games 3 and 4, but it makes them a little bit worse in some of the later games. So that kind of all balances out. So I'd be hesitant to say, if you have these hot takes about how much the rain helps the Phillies. I think it helps them in some places, it hurts them in others. On the big picture, though, I don't think it changes much, mainly because the Phillies are still going to have a big question mark game. They were always going to have that big question mark game. It was going to come in Game 3. Now it looks like it'll come in Game 5. If they felt confident, had a full 100% Zach Wheeler able to go in Game 5, and then bump up Suarez to pitch on short rest in 6 and Nola on short rest on 7, as shaky as short rest could be, that gamble could have paid off. But since that doesn't look to be the plan right now, I don't see any long-term change in the probabilities. If that does happen and that's on the table, I think that gives the Phillies a little bit better of a chance to pull it out. It's a more high variable move because short rest tends to go great because you're throwing a better pitcher, or backfires completely because the short rest sometimes doesn't go well for pitchers. So it's a little more high variable approach. That's kind of what you want when you're an underdog like the Phillies are. So just some things to think about here with that big question mark Game 5 if you're betting series prices. Otherwise, though, the rest of the show we'll talk about Game 3. Before we get to that, though, please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. If you are yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. We've also got that Patreon if you're looking for extra benefits. $3 per month gets you the favorite of the day, the underdog of the day, the total of the day, when applicable. I'll post one of those if there's multiple on the website for free every day, but the other ones you'll have to go to Patreon for. All sorts of all the updates in college football plays, all sorts of goodies there, depending on what you're looking for. Hopefully that provides you some extra benefit. If not, again, I love having you here for the free picks, continuing what we've been doing all season. Hopefully we can continue to profit here in the last week of baseball, but we'll get to it. Line courtesy of Bet Online. Sign up link in the show description and current as the time of this recording on Monday night. And a reminder, the price you see on screen in parentheses is the money line price needed for those sides to reach a certain level play according to my model sideline. 8:03 Eastern now. Again, on Tuesday, November 1st, we'll have Game 3. The Astros are still favorites at the Phillies. The price has dropped a little bit because of the fact that Suarez is absolutely a better pitcher. Here's the thing, though, that my model is looking at is the lefty-righty split. You've probably heard me talk throughout the season. There's a handful of teams that are a little bit right-handed or left-handed heavy that have differential splits. The Phillies splits are pretty small right now. Lefty righty, it's not that much of a difference. The Astros splits are fairly extreme, not quite as extreme as the White Sox or the Blue Jays, as they are just all right-handed hitting. The Astros have 2 lefties, and those lefties can hit lefties. Tucker a little bit, he's a little more hit or miss, but Yordan Alvarez can absolutely hit lefties. We saw that with the home run against Robbie Ray, for example. The Astros are set up to hit a lefty. So the benefit that the Phillies get in the fact that Suarez is a better pitcher is a little bit offset because he's left-handed. And I don't think the sports books are taking into account. So I like the Astros a little bit more in Game 3 than I did previously. The price has dropped, I think, too much. I think it should have dropped a little bit, sure, but not like it has. I've actually got what was before a borderline BC pick. Now I've got as a borderline AB pick, but I'm going to give this an A grade here. It falls just inside the range. As you can see, though, the current price is Astros minus 120. That's an A grade play. According to the sidelines math, minus 121 is an A grade play. Though, to be fair, if you're in that minus 122, maybe minus 123, that's probably close enough that I think it's worthy of an A grade as well. Once you get up to 125, I think it's B grade. And that's why I said check out the webpage if you're new here as to why that matters. It's not just about picking winners. It's about picking winners at smart prices. Just because there's only a maximum of 5 games left in the season doesn't mean that we want to still be price sensitive. Those are still good things that we want to continue, because you're probably not just betting baseball. You're probably also betting college football. We got college basketball coming up. You're probably betting NBA, NHL, NFL, right? And that's good and that's fun. And we just want to be smart in all of our plays. Just because one season's ending doesn't mean that we throw all our rules out the window. So price like minus 125, I'd still be on the Astros. Price like minus 130, I'd still be on the Astros. But those are B grade picks because the price is just a little bit too high. But down to that minus 120 or low minus 120s, the value is A grade according to my model because of the fact that, again, the Astros are going to hit left-handed pitching very well. Lance McCullers can get the job done for the Astros. As we talked about, a little bit more of a high-variance pitcher, but I still think he's better than Suarez. And we will have a situation that's different in this game than what we thought previously, though, in that there's a chance that we see a pitcher like Syndergaard out of the bullpen. The Astros could easily hit Suarez around first time through, second time through, given that they're better against lefties. We don't know what Suarez pitch count will do. If they use Syndergaard in relief in this game, I don't necessarily think that improves the probability they win this game as much as I think it just affects what's going to happen on Game 5. And the reason I say that is if they're using him, it's likely because Suarez didn't go 6 or 7 innings and they're needing those extra innings to get them further. And that's fine. I don't think that changes much. It's just they might need him in order to bridge the gap to some of their better back inning guys. There's a chance we see him in relief. Again, I don't really think that's a good thing or a bad thing. If he's only asked to go through the lineup one time, I'm sure he can be a reasonable and respectable pitcher. So that's, on the table that Suarez doesn't go that deep, especially if they want him to come back and pitch in relief. They kind of seemingly are using him like the Nationals used Patrick Corbin back in 2019, already at once in relief here in this series. And so they might have a short leash on him and they might decide only 2 times through, and then they've got options for him to come back and pitch. Honestly, maybe in Game 5, who the heck knows what they're going to try to do. They do seem all in, like they're going to try to win this game. That makes a lot of sense. And they could be a little more aggressive knowing that they've got Nola in Game 4, and kind of their only hope in the series is for a guy like Nola in Game 4 to have a really good game. So I think it'll be kind of all hands on deck for the Phillies. That's, again, why I like the Astros. As long as our price is like minus 120, I don't want to pay too high of a price there because the Phillies could absolutely win this game. Sideline says Astros minus 133. That's 57% likely. 43% things happen all the time, right? So this is not a go all in pick. There are no locks in gambling. It's just I think the Astros win this closer to 60% of the time, and the odds are being priced more like it's closer to 50%. So I think there's a little bit of value here on the Astros minus 120. It's an A-grade pick for me. And I'm going under 7.5 at even money. Sideline says 7.4. And as I just mentioned, I think there's a big difference in now how Game 3 is going to be managed than what Cousin Jared and I talked about yesterday. Before knowing that we had Suarez pitching in Game 4 and the Phillies trying to figure out how the heck they were going to survive 3 and 4. Now, again, that set them up fairly well for 5 and 6. Now they're set up better for 3 and 4. They're a little more questionable. They're a lot more questionable for 5. I mean, the Phillies winning game 5 seems close to impossible at this point because I'm not sure what they're going to have left, right? But it sets them up a little bit better for 4 now with Nola, and it sets them up to be a little more aggressive here in game 3. I think it's going to keep the total down because they're not going to let it get out of hand like they might have had this game happen on Monday night, saying, okay, this one's lost, but we've got to come back and have all hands on deck to win game 4 and get it back to 2-2. Then you've got Nola, Wheeler on the back, and that kind of was the plan. Now I think the plan is going to be kind of more go all in and say Nola better take care of business in game 4 anyway. I think that keeps the score down. I don't think the Phillies scored that many off McCullers. This would have been an under in game 2, and we saw Fromber's dominance giving up the Astros only gave up 1 earned run in that game. Should have been only the 1, and that was with Wheeler getting hit around. You take away those first 3 doubles, that should have been like a 2-1 ball game, right? So I just think 7.5 is a little bit too high here, especially when you consider the weather. We're talking about, again, low 60s. Thankfully, there should be no rain in the forecast, but we're going to have, 5 to 10 mile an hour winds blowing kind of in from left field. It'll kind of be across, kind of in. It's not going to help the hitters whatsoever. It's either going to knock down some balls, push them across. It's going to get the pitchers a tiny bit of a boost. And again, I think it's kind of all hands on deck. The Astros have so many arms if they want to go to a guy that we haven't even seen in this series, like Hunter Brown. They've got him to throw out there for a couple of innings. Having Javier tomorrow, they have faith in him. I mean, they just got a lot of arms. Everybody will be rested and ready to go. And the Phillies, like I said, I do think they're going to have everybody rested and ready to go. And if Suarez comes out early, I think they'll go to Syndergaard to try to bridge another 2 or 3 innings. So I think a low-scoring game here makes a lot of sense. 7.5 even money is the play for me on the under. I might play minus 105 if that's what you're seeing. That's kind of on the borderline. At minus 110, I don't really think it's that investable. I think at that point, you just want to wait for better odds. Shop around. There's a lot of places at even money right now. So even money under 7.5 is a good under investment, in my opinion, as is, again, Astros minus 120, which gets an A grade from me. That's all I've got for you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content we've brought on this channel. It's dropped right into your feed. We'll see you again tomorrow for more World Series coverage. And again, we got 3 college football episodes, one of them already out, more coming throughout the week. As always, best of luck, and remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.